There's a suggestion in a piece I just read that the winner of Max and Charles becomes the number one contender and takes on the winner of Paddy and Justin. Now, I believe the author of this statement was Paddy himself, that Paddy was making a suggestion. You may say, well, then, Chael, we should take it with a grain of salt. Paddy's performing. But if Paddy becomes champion, if the champion ever calls somebody out, that fight usually happens. It's very rare that champions call somebody out. Ozdemir fought for a world title because Daniel Cormier called him out. I mean, just for example, it's not common that the champion goes and looks for a fight. The champion gets called out by 2 or 3 or 4 different guys, and you start looking around at who's the number one. Right? Do you understand my point? So while you might think that this is cute today, it has legs, and I just want to talk about it. I despise the idea. I despise the idea because it devalues the BMF belt. I think the BMF belt is a real belt. Not only do I think it's a real and true belt, I think in many ways, much like the Olympic Games, it has the ability to be valued as a more coveted belt because of the scarcity. Now, that's a conversation that isn't my point right now. I'm just bringing to you, that's how I feel. When they do a BMF match, it's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal. The first time they ever did it, the president came and The Rock came. And they held it at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. This is the first time they ever did it. The last time they did it was Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, completely sold out, and the governor of the state showed up to watch. I'm just saying, it's a big deal. When they do the BMF belt, it's a big deal. So I don't want it used as a number one contender's belt. I don't want it used as something you get to get something else. I want it to be prestigious, and I want it to be its own. And I also, I got to tell you, I don't love when the BMF champion fights, but the belt isn't on the line. I think that's a mistake. I remember the night that Colby beat Masvidal for 5 rounds and did not leave the BMF champion. It felt weird. It felt very wrong to Colby, but it felt very weird. It felt wrong to George. I don't think George wanted to be the champion when he just lost the belt. I mean, I remember Max. Max goes into the fight with Poirier, but Max had just lost to Ilya. And Ilya's going, well, give me my belt. And Max is like, I can't. They didn't put it up. And Ilya goes, but I beat you. Give me the belt. And Max is like, I agree that I should give you the belt. I can't. And it's just got a little fuzzy, and I don't want it to, which is why I don't like the idea. Now, one thing that Paddy had said is that it'd be funny. And he said it would be funny because it would, and I'm quoting Paddy, it would be funny because it would screw Arman. If the winner of Charles Max fights the winner, right, and again, this is all in the absence of Ilya. In a suspected world, the winner of Paddy Gaethje will fight Ilya. That is what we expect is going to happen. But we never thought that Ilya was going to be out in the first place. We never thought that we were going to be to this spot in the first place. So Paddy's not wrong to be looking for an opponent not named Ilya with his expected victory. And I mean expected by himself. He expects to be in a position that he's going to need to contest. All right. that does leave us on the topic of Tsarukyan. For how long do we plan to purgatory Tsarukyan? And I'm not convinced he's in purgatory. John Anakin made some headlines where John was being very candid. He was asked a question on the Jackson podcast, and John just answered the question. King Mo, 2 days prior to that, had brought up and spoke on the same subject. Anik had called it, I believe, an unfair punishment, I believe is the word that he used, and King Mo had referred to it as petty. But hold on. And I am a very big Tsarukyan defender. I'm just not sure that he's in a detention. Now, why do I say that? Yes, he went into a weird purgatory when he missed the Islam fight. That's true. But he got out the day that he weighed in to be a backup fighter for the undisputed title. And I think that people forget that he was offered that opportunity. I believe the offering of that opportunity was the agreement by all. We're good. I believe that. Some people say, then Chael, why isn't he fighting for the belt? Well, I'll tell you why. He got put in what was known as a number one contenders match in November. But that was supposed to draw into Ilya, who then says he's not going to be present, and they decide they're going to contest the title in January. So that would be a turnaround for Tsarukyan from November to January. And it's just very quick. I think that Tsarukyan's next fight is going to be for the title. That may end up being interim. That may, right? I mean, it's one of these. It's one of these things. It's one of these things that's got some moving parts. We don't all know yet what an interim belt is. We don't know. We largely agree as a community that at a minimum, an interim belt makes you the number one contender for the undisputed belt. But when we saw that Aspinall had to wait as the interim champion, we found out that that wasn't completely right. So, but hear me out, because we would think that Paddy Gaethje, if Ilya returns, we then got to go do that match. That could delay the championship opportunity of Tsarukyan, but that's not because of a penance. You see the difference? Like we would have to do that. That wouldn't be a penance to Arman. We would have to give the interim champion the undisputed champion. And so I think that some of the calendar, I think some of these moving parts just simply with the dates is what is stopping Arman's opportunity. That's my opinion, and that's the way I see it. That doesn't mean that's right, but I think it is. The fact that he was a backup fighter, meaning 1/10 of a pound, 1/10 of a pound, that either Charles or Ilya potentially misses weight by, he goes in. They flew him out. He was ready. He got a check. He had a contract. He would have gone in. So it's not as though somebody is against putting him in. And that's how I see that. And I'm pretty sure I'm right.